From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hello, people. It's great to have you in. You have reached the Badass Counseling Show podcast. We are doing a live taping of a lightning round. We have people tuning in from around the world, from New Hampshire to Portland, Oregon, from South Africa to New South Wales. We've got folks in from everyone. I've got folks in from Lithuania and Japan. Everyone listening in, firing away your questions on all things that you are struggling with right now. We've got it going right away, right out of the gate. I've got Michelle over on TikTok saying, I'm ready to get roasted. I was in an affair for 3 years. I'm not proud of it, and I walked away. Okay. You didn't post a question there, Michelle, so you said you're ready to get roasted. Okay, you know what you did is wrong, and you cheated, had an affair, and a lot of people say, well, what should I do? And I'll be really, really honest with you, Michelle. I personally believe, this is my personal belief system, I was cheated on, I have cheated, and I was with someone who was cheating. I've written a book on cheating. I have experienced it firsthand from all angles of the cheating triangle, and it sucks all the way around. I personally believe that you owe it to the person that you did it to tell them the truth. Be one of the hardest conversations you've ever had. Although I'm betting if you were with someone for 3 years, you were probably in love with that person, and walking away from that person was probably a pretty hard fucking conversation to have too. This one's going to be harder because you're going to have to own it. And if you have kids involved, even worse. But I believe in the truth. Furthermore, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, especially moving forward. If I'm talking to you, if you're my client, yeah, you got to own it. But in the end, if you're going to heal you, you have to look at what really caused it, because you may think what really caused it was this relationship. It wasn't the relationship. Your marriage did not cause your cheating. What caused your cheating was shit that's been going on inside you since long before you met your husband or wife, whatever, whoever you're married to. And you have to go down deep into that stuff to heal the real stuff, because you are trying to meet some unmet need, some unmet longing deep inside of you. And until you heal that shit, guess what? That exact same shit that caused this cheating, you will be carrying into your next fucking relationship. This is the shit. That's the reason I wrote the book. There's a hole in my love cup, to take you deep, to do the real fucking healing. I strongly recommend you get it, because you got some healing to do. I'm not here to chew your ass. I'm here over, having cheated. Sounds like you're beating yourself up, and you're going to take a beating when you admit it. And I think you should admit it to the person you cheated on. But in the end, you got to do the healing on yourself. There is nothing else that matters, because otherwise you're just going to keep hurting people, but also you're going to keep being fucking miserable in your own life. All right, next question. How do you get your partner to understand where you are coming from when you try to explain how it hurts when he looks to others for what he should be doing with me? Only TV, internet, and others. How do you get your partner to understand where you're coming from? When you try to explain how it hurts when he looks to others for what he should be doing with you. The way you do it is you tell your truth. You tell the person how you're hurting. You tell them what their actions are causing you to feel. In addition to that, and you do that, and you do it for as long as you need to do it. And at some point, you're going to realize, in all likelihood, it ain't getting through. It ain't getting through. And either they're going to choose to hear you and choose to listen. You can't ultimately make them listen. You can't make them hear you. All you can do is put your truth out there, and then they're going to respond how they're going to respond. And the truth is, the ugly truth might likely be that they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. And that hurts. That means the real thing you got to be doing is not just putting your truth out there. The more important thing is you got to be healing your inner shit for how that person is making you feel, of not wanting to hear how he's hurting you, not wanting to be understood, not wanting to get closer to fix the breach. A chasm has been created in your relationship, and he doesn't want to fix it. And that's causing immense pain, immense sadness, immense sense of betrayal and disappointment and longing inside of you, and all that stuff has to come out of you because it's tearing you up inside. And we make our worst decisions, people, when we are churning with emotion. If you are not getting all those emotions and all those feelings and all the regret and all the anger and all of that out of you, you're going to make bad decisions. And you're going to often continue in relationships that make you feel like shit, or you're going to lash out, as we were just talking about with Michelle, went off in other directions. The healing has to happen inside of you. Otherwise, you're going to start just hurting other people and hurting yourself even more. Next question. And I'm going to open this one up. I'm going to give the microphone to the audience and let you guys weigh in on this one. Hey, you, ask in all capital letters. All right. So, hey, you is screaming at us. And I hear you. Hey, you are going to be heard in all capital letters. If you know a husband is cheating, do you tell the wife? I was trying to give the sort of intensity of the all capital letters. Rob wouldn't let me scream. That's the closest I can come to screaming.
You screamed anyway.
Okay, good. So I got it across. So all of you fine humans, why don't you weigh in with your opinions on this question? If you know a husband is cheating, not your husband, obviously, someone else's husband is cheating, do you tell the wife? Chrissy Marie on Facebook says, yes, you tell her. Terry on TikTok says, take pictures. Erica says, well, damn, that depends if you have proof. Libra Girl says, yes. No Longer Stuck in Kansas says, absolutely yes. San Mar says, no. True Grit says, yes. Yes, you tell her says, Lucky Spitfire. Cassidy says, yes.
Tammy says, I wish I was told. And Deborah says, yes.
Chrissy Lou says, get it now. Get out now? Maybe she's not in the relationship. She knows somebody else's husband is cheating. Michelle McDonough says no in capital letters. Gail Duger, also in capital letters, says, hey, you. Hell yeah. Gina says yes. Hey, you says, oh, wow. Okay, so hey, you, who originally asked the question in all capital letters, people. I'm just enjoying that part. Hey, you says, yes, I do have proof. All right. Does that change the equation for anyone? Do you tell someone, hey, you's original question was, you know someone's husband is cheating. Should I tell the wife? I know she's cheating, and now she's saying, I have proof. Do I tell the wife? Now, Blue Eyes says, Blue Eyes offers a wrinkle here, and she says, proof. Then give him 24 hours to come clean with his wife, or you will tell the wife. Now, there's an interesting wrinkle. And be sure you're safe when you do tell him so that, he's hopefully he won't try to do something to you. Amy Lantain says, yes, I would. Nikki Jones says, yes. Please tell them. Yeah, make him tell her. Yeah, that was good. A few people are saying, hey, Cassidy says, if the cheater ain't going to do it, you gotta. So a lot of folks weighing in and saying the yes. Rob, do you have a thought on this one?
That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia.
Amen to that.
Check
brother.
The lyrics.
Is that what the song's about?
Yeah, and there is a shooting involved.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
So let's be careful out there.
Yes, be careful. I love that. Diane offers an interesting insight. Listen to what Diane Christie says over here on Facebook. Diane says, if you do, proof or not, they will hate you for it. Okay. All right, you guys. So that's that one. Take that for what you want. Do I think you tell? Yeah, I do. I do. But you're also wading into other people's shit, I spent 2.5 years living on the streets with the homeless and ministering to the homeless. I gave up all my life possessions, drained my bank account, slept on concrete every night for 2.5 years. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is not my business. Sometimes in life, shit just ain't, no way. I ain't fucking touching it. Not my business. But this is one of those times in life when people are being hurt and you have the opportunity to stop people's pain. And a lot of people are weighing in, yes. I have to say in this case, I probably would side with the yeses on this one. All right, even though it means being hated. And if you're okay being hated, and the wife may hate you too. You got to understand that. The wife may hate you too. But if it's truth, if you don't have proof, don't fucking do it because it's just hearsay on one hand. But if you got proof, yeah. All right, next question.
I have one over on YouTube from Teddy who asks, how do you find the drive to work to get out of your situation when you're shackled by enormous debt?
Okay. How do you find the drive when you're shackled by enormous debt? It's interesting. You cite two different things. One is drive, yet the other is the debt. Okay, so we're really tangling with two different problems here. I can see how the debt make you feel like you've lost drive. But the bottom line is that losing of drive is a feeling. It's a feeling of feeling unmotivated, lethargic, empty, drawn out, quartered, All right. So what you can do, the bottom line is you've got that debt no matter how you slice it. But so you don't have control over that per se. But what you do have control over is those feelings of feeling unmotivated. And what you have to do is you have to go inside of that. That is pain. That is fear of never being able to get out of it. That is pain. That is misery. That is lethargy. All of those are feelings that have to come out of you. That shit is dragging you down from the inside. The debt is dragging you down from the outside. But your response is your natural feelings in response to the debt. Also in response to how your friends are treating you or how other unrelated things. All of that is weighing you down on the inside. That's what you have control over. We spend so much of our lives, guys, trying to change our outside, hoping that will change the inside. But the core problems we're fighting in life are the ones inside of us. And you fix the inside by fixing the inside, not by fixing the outside. We try to control our kids. Why? Because when something's not just right, my anxiety flares up inside. I feel so anxious. So I'm going to control things outside of me. I'm going to control my kids, or I'm going to control my girlfriend, or I'm going to be a micromanager at work, or I'm just going to say I'm going to fuck off to it all, and I'm going to let go of control because I've got so much inside of me I can't handle anything. But we so think that the fixes outside are outside of us for the problem is inside of us. Do you see the difference there, folks? All right. Next question. Did we answer that one?
I think so. Teddy says, I guess after the work, I pulled a lot of my motivation from my parents, but doing it for myself, I can't.
Yeah. Okay. Now doing it for yourself. Now we're getting into the shit you've been taught to believe about yourself. Now we're getting into your core belief systems. When you guys hear me talking about core beliefs, this is the shit. Nothing, not even past trauma. Nothing has the power to drag you down from the inside. Nothing like the power of your core beliefs that you have been taught to believe about yourself that you cannot even see. That down on the very bedrock of your soul, somebody poured motherfucking cement, and they wrote into that cement messages about yourself, about your value, about your worth, about your lovability, about your wantability, about whether or not you matter, and you can't even see those. You think you can, but you can't. And they are down there, and until you go down to that and identify those messages and their origins, where they came from, and jackhammer the shit of them out of there, you're still operating from those belief systems. And the worst decisions you will make, I've seen whole careers built on core beliefs that were never your original self, and it's still not yourself. My practice has been based in Manhattan for the last 10 years. I deal with the wealthiest of the wealthy. I deal with the most powerful. All right. I have stars in Hollywood and academics and politicians and so forth. And so often in life, guess what they're operating from? They're operating from a core belief system that was never theirs to begin with. Trying to get the validation they never got. No matter how much success they have, I hear repeatedly, Sven, I still have this giant hole inside. That all the success out here, all the different jets and boats and homes, 5 different homes and, career successes and Oscar awards and shit doesn't fill. Right? It's trying to get shit out here to fill the answer. And the problem's in here. You have to go inside of the shit, inside of you, people. And I'm just telling you, you can pretend that ain't true. You can try to cover it over. You can try to stay distracted. And the truth is, it's not just the pain. It's not just the wounds. It's not just the wounds. It's the underlying messages that were conveyed to you, sometimes explicitly, but very often implicitly. Rob has master produced 200 whatever number of shows that we have made with over 2 million downloads of this show. And one of the things that he can attest that we see time and time again in our counseling episodes of the show is those core beliefs that we're able to identify in an hour or in 30 minutes with somebody on the show and help them see, holy shit, I've been believing this about myself, which has driven me to do this in my career or this in my parenting. It's like, oh, fuck. The power of core beliefs, once you have them unearthed, is unimaginable, especially when you are able to excise them and cut them out. And that's what the book is for. All right. True on TikTok asks the question, what is your core audience? Rob, you want to take a swing at that one?
Everybody needs you, Sven.
Well, I don't know about that. But my core audience is people who are experiencing pain. And people who fundamentally, whether they're aware of it or not, have been taught to believe that they suck, that they don't matter, and that they're unlovable. People who have tried other forms of therapy and counseling, and people who wouldn't be caught dead in a therapist's office. Those are my people. People who have tried everything and still can't. Why? Because they got so much shit and they don't know their ass from their elbow. And they're spinning through life ass over tea kettle. and they can't get clear. Those are the people. That's my audience. People who are hurting and can't seem to find help anywhere. And that's sort of what we deal in here. All right. Next question. Do I do Zoom call one-on-one sessions? Yes. Go to badasscounseling.com and read the counseling page thoroughly. Then reach out to my assistant, Kate, who's a salty person, and she's my assistant, and she'll get you all set up. Okay, but you do have to start reading the book because I require that all new clients be reading the book. Why? It's 60% of my counseling session. Why do I want you to read the book? So we can move faster in session, so we can get results faster. That's why I have you write an autobiography and all that shit. All right, next question. Married 25 years and have so much blocked anger. Yeah, my first question to you is, why are you blocking it? Of course, the answer likely is because I don't want to feel it all. It's so big. I fear that it would overwhelm me. But not only that, in all likelihood, you fear the ramifications, the implications, if you allow all that anger and the pain that drove the anger. Remember, anger is generally a secondary emotion. It's a result of past pain, present pain, or potential future pain. Anger is a response. It's an attempt to get back at someone for what they've done or to protect myself from something I fear someone might do. So you've got all that anger. You likely don't want to touch it. But the truth is you will never have peace in your soul. And you will never have a sense of lightness and aliveness, Rosa, until you get that anger that you've blocked, until you get it the fuck out of you. And just start in small, manageable bites. And then keep building on that. And you'll get stronger. You'll get better at it. But you have to start flushing it out. Again, you guys know me. Start journaling it out. Start writing letters to your husband, to whomever you're mad at, and start flushing it out. Don't send the letters. Just start flushing it out. That's what you got to do. All right. She says, help. 4 years in, and he has turned many people against me. He says he's a dark angel. I feel hurt. Okay. Someone using the language like that, that's freaky shit, right? It's tripping you the fuck out. Dark angel, it's like, okay, honestly, for me as an outsider, someone trying to turn people against you, in all honesty, and you said he has turned many people against me, and you feel hurt. Hell yeah, you feel hurt. But if you're being really honest, in addition to that hurt, you've got some anger inside of you. You want to know how I know? Because it's a natural response. It is a natural response to someone mistreating you and turning others against you and hurting you. And until you flush out the pain and the anger, you won't be able to see straight on what you need to do. But if you've got somebody hurting you, to be very, very honest with you, that's the kind of relationship you get out of. All right, next question. Isn't anger a normal response to love and trust violations? Yes, that's exactly right. Anger and sadness and rage and disappointment and betrayal, those are natural responses. People, you got to understand, their feelings are morally neutral. They are morally neutral. There is nothing inherently bad about having a feeling. A feeling is a response, a natural human response to a stimulus. It's your body's response to get an energy out of you because of this stimulus. So whether it's crying or anger or sadness, whatever it is your body trying to release the energy from some stimulus, usually pain. Although, exuberance, that's a feeling. Well, it's a stimulating. It's something good happening, and that's your body's response of getting the energy out. My team is winning. The Mets are winning. The Mets are winning. They aren't my team. They're Rob's team. The Mets are winning. Oh, my God, they won. Exuberance. And you're screaming, and you're dancing around, and you're yelling, and you feel exuberant. It's you getting the feeling out in a response to that stimulus. All right? They're morally neutral, right? Now, what you do with it, if you go punch somebody in the face when you're feeling angry, now it's no longer morally neutral. But the bottom line is, if you try to stuff down your feelings, then you are short-circuiting your body's natural response to the stimulus. If you shut that down, you are blocking the body from its normal cycles, okay? You are blocking it rather than if you just let it out and let it come out and let it come out when it's happening. That's a real badass. You're just saying, I'm going to let myself feel what I feel. That doesn't give me permission to go yell at Bill or to, maybe if I'm at work, even though I'm feeling sad, this may not be the time. So I'm going to let those tears and sadness out when I'm back in my car at lunch break. Okay. But the bottom line is, the more you allow out the very feelings that are your authentic self, that's what it means to be a badass. Badass isn't, I'm tough all the time. No, that's just dopey. Why? Because you're letting someone set some arbitrary fucking standard of what it is when your body's natural response is to respond with the tears or the anger or whatever. So let it have its natural response. That's what it means to live in flow. It's to allow yourself to just be who the hell you are, right? And obviously, again, you can't cry at work or yell at the boss, but you can still be angry and you can flush out even at work. You can take 10 minutes and write down on a pad of paper, write that letter. If your boss just yelled at you and you feel it was unfair, write down a pad of paper, write a letter to your boss. You fucking dick, I fucking hate your guts. You were so wrong. I was trying to help you guys see this was the real point, blah, 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 blah. Flush it out, flush it out, flush it out. And there are tools that I teach in my book for flushing it out faster. Okay, but the more you flush it out, then you calm back down and then you're back in control of yourself. You're recentered. You're not stirring with all these emotions. Stuffing down feelings, that is not a highly effective operational tool for going through life, because that shit will eat you up. Happens every single time. Just a matter of time. It will. All right, much more to come right after this short break.
I had a really good start in my life, and I've been successful in my career, but I have to say I've learned so much and improved my outlook on life since I met Sven and picked up a copy of Badass Wisdom. With the daily meditations as journaling prompts, I've uncovered a lot of memories that weren't totally pleasant. With Sven's guidance, I've achieved some new understanding, and honestly, I feel lighter. Badass Wisdom is a great read, in nice small bites, and I think anyone can benefit from it. So go to badasscounseling.com and get the book or the audiobook. It could change your life.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
All right, we are back. We're right here. Do you see us? Look, we're right here. All right. Bunch of questions here on this whole notion of feelings. And this is great. I really love it. So Vegas Baby on TikTok asked the question, how do I let someone love me again after being alone for 10 to 12 years? How do I open up? I had 10 years in between my second wife and my present relationship, which I have been in for 10 years. And it was 10 years and I was alone. I fell in love once in there, maybe twice, light falling in love, but didn't materialize and so forth. And so this notion of, but you're expressing something different. How do I let someone in my life again? How do I open up? What's keeping you from opening up isn't just that I've patternized this idea of being alone. It's just you get in that sort of rut, right? It's not just that. You're not opening up and you're, feeling sort of shut down and so forth. It's being caused by fear. You have to identify the fears that are driving the behavior, because I guarantee it's fear. We stay locked down, we stay shut down, we stay closed off because we're afraid of re-engaging. In all likelihood, you're afraid of being hurt. So what I would recommend in your self-work or your work with your therapist, in your journaling, whatever it is, go into what ultimately, write this right on your paper. What is it I'm ultimately most afraid of in re-engaging and opening back up to someone in a relationship, be it a friendship or a love relationship, and write out your answers. Well, I'm afraid of them hurting me. I'm afraid of them saying hurtful things. I'm afraid I won't be able to stand up for myself. I'm afraid of being absorbed in a relationship again. Whatever your fears are, write them out. And then in the next question, write out the question on the paper. Well, where does this come from? When did this start? Where the hell did I get this fear? And go into that. And then journal out after you identify where that came from. Well, how did that feel back then? In other words, you're always going deeper. Why? What's going on inside of me? When did that happen? What's the origin of that? Continuing to always dig deeper. In my book, Badass Wisdom, which is a 366-day daily inspirational meditational, I have journaling questions for every single day on different topics. Well, it's questions that help us in our journaling, help us in our thinking to go deeper, to begin to find origins, and to begin to identify what the fuck is really going on inside of us. All right, next question.
Hey, Sven.
Yeah.
From Jennifer on YouTube. She says, holy crap, I just had a breakthrough when you answered Teddy. It was so profound, it's making me dizzy.
Put that breakthrough in one sentence or less. I'd love to hear what the breakthrough was in your words in one sentence or less. All right. Tracy asked the question, how do you handle someone gaslighting you? You have to stand up, you have to stand strong, and you have to not back down. Most importantly, the reason gaslighting takes effect. Okay, gaslighting, as you guys know, a very popular word nowadays. It's like breadcrumbing. It's like narcissism. It's like one of these overused words. But for a lot of people, it helps them find a language for what they're experiencing. So it's, even though it's for some folks, it's like, I'm sick of hearing about gaslighting. For some folks, it's like, yeah, but that explains my experience. They found a word. So that's good. I'm glad you got a word, Tracy. All right. How do you handle someone gaslighting you? Honestly, the reason their gaslighting works is because you've been conditioned prior to this person at some point to not trust your own voice. What gaslighting is this overpowering, overwhelming outside voice finding its way inside you, burrowing deep and causing you to distrust your own voice or overwhelming your voice. But you've been set up, if you've been taught that your voice is good, your voice is on, your inner sense of self and your inner decision-making is solid, then someone's not able to gaslight you because you already trust your own voice. So their ability to gaslight you is predicated on the fact that to some degree you don't trust your own voice. All right. So on a very sort of elemental or everyday level, you trust yourself. You default to trusting yourself rather than allowing them to cause you to doubt yourself. But you're only going to be able to do that and sustain that for very long if you go into the origins of where was it that I was first caused? Who was it? Where was it that first caused me to distrust my own self, my own feelings? Who didn't let me feel my own feelings? Who would say to me, no, that's not what happened? We had a guest on the show earlier today. We did a counseling episode earlier today, and the guest was talking about how she was very honest in admitting that with my own kids, I don't want them to think poorly of their dad. We're divorced, and he's abusive and everything, but I don't want them to think poorly of him because I want my kids to have a better childhood than I had, where I didn't feel loved and so forth. And I had to say to her, you realize that they're having a bad experience where their father is being hurtful with his words to them, but you're telling them he's a good guy. So you're causing them to distrust their own inner gyroscope, their own inner voice, because their voice is saying, this hurts. Dad is hurting me. Dad is hurting my feelings. This doesn't feel good. And then you're telling, and you're the person they trust the most in life. You're the one they look up to. You're the one they believe in. Now you're coming in and telling them, no, Dad's a good guy. So you're conditioning your children to say that, to believe that how they're being treated by Dad is good. Now, surely you don't want that for your child. And she's like, oh my fucking God, no, I don't want that. I said, yeah, of course you don't. Because then when your daughter is 17 and she's dating a guy and this guy is mistreating her, she's saying, well, this is love. Mom taught me this is what love is. All right. So she was fundamentally, without realizing it, she was gaslighting her children. She was teaching her children that your experience isn't real. Okay. So very often, if someone can be gaslighted in adulthood, more often than not, they were taught in childhood, their feelings, their wants, their thoughts aren't real. So what you've got to do in your case, Tracy, is trace back and find out what the origins are of you believing that you can't trust your own voice, because that's why someone's able to gaslight you now, because you actually believe their voice over your voice. Does any of that make sense, you guys? Yes? Rob, did we get a feedback?
Yes, we did. Jennifer perfectly answered your question to state her breakthrough. She says, I have been having issues finding the motivation at 51 years old to do necessary daily tasks. I pulled a lot of my motivation from my mom trying to get her approval and love.
And that's a bingo. And that's a bingo. All right. Anybody know that movie reference, by the way? I love that movie reference.
I don't.
It's from Inglourious Bastards, where the guy who got the Oscar award for that, the German guy, Austrian, speaks like 7 fucking languages. He played the exact same role in Django. And anyway, he says, he's this German guy and he says, that's a bingo. And Brad Pitt's character says, yeah, we just say bingo. All right. So here's a question. This person has been trying to get through, and I want to honor Shelby's question. Shelby, I see you. All right. Shelby on Facebook asked the question, how to get an extreme taker to not use your child as a pawn. It's the only thing we share, and he's taking it to the extreme. Only seen him once in months' time now. Only wants him when it benefits him or makes him look good. How do I stop his manipulation with our son? He's only 7 years old and knows better, but loves his dad, and I'm heartbroken for my son. Yes, that's the problem, is that the child still loves the parent, and the child is still wanting the approval, and the child will keep going back to the parent, even when the parent is being physically or verbally abusive, or in this case, being taken advantage of and used by the father. So you say, how do you get an extreme taker to not use your child? First of all, you need to understand that the extreme taker is doing this because the extreme taker has pain inside of them and likely anger towards you and wants to hurt you. Using the child to hurt you. And as we talked about on a previous lightning round that we did right before this one, we had someone ask, hey, I want to get revenge on this person I'm married to. What do you recommend? I'm like, revenge. And then I opened it up to the audience and I said, does revenge? And she said, I just know it'll make me feel better. And I opened up to the audience. Will revenge make you feel better? And it was a resounding no. Okay. And so it's the same thing going on here. Your husband is trying to hurt you by hurting your son. And the more your husband sees that it hurts you, the more your husband is going to do it because it's working. Okay. And so you say, it's the only thing we share, and he's taking it to the extreme. Only seeing him once in months, only wants him when it benefits him. How do I stop his manipulation with our son? You stand up strong, and you don't back down. And if you need to take this to the law, you take it to the law. You take it to court. And in all likelihood, it's very possible the court isn't going to do anything. All right? Because if there's not physical abuse, very often they won't do anything. But it goes on record. All right? And you fight. Because in the end, your child has to know that you are fighting for your child, even if you're losing. You have to do everything in your power, and you have to stand strong and not back down with regard to the person manipulating and hurting your child. All right? Taking advantage of your child and keep calling it out. And that means you have to be doing your healing work on you so that you have the strength to do it and to do it and to do it and to keep your child out of, within the confines of the law, to keep your child out of situations where he is being hurt by his father. But you have to stand strong because the child needs you to be stronger than him because the child is the defenseless one, as you know. And that means you have to find all your power to stand up strong and employ resources that you have available to surround your child in a community of love and strength and support. Furthermore, I would recommend getting your child in with a good child therapist. There are so many great child therapists out there. Really, that is a special gift. That is a special talent. And you find your kid once that they have someone other than mom and other than dad that they can talk to and grow to trust and talk to freely because their pain is stored, that your child's pain is storing up inside of him. And that needs to be flushed out. And your child needs to have the opportunity, and you need to listen to your child and let your child talk with you, right? And the bottom, what's really happening in this, though, what's being cemented, beginning to be cemented, and I have children that I work with presently, and I have, over the decades, and what gets cemented is the belief system. They start to believe that they're the problem. This is where we're getting into belief system. This is where it starts, Shelby. When you guys hear me talk about core beliefs, the child believes that dad is treating me this way because something is wrong with me. Furthermore, the child will, as the child ages, and you don't give the age of your child, 7 years old. Yeah, 7 years old is early enough. The child is going to try to begin to understand why dad is doing this. And you need to have questions like, why do you think dad is doing this? Or leave this up to the psychologist. But the bottom line is your child is trying to understand it. And when asked that question, the child, I think it's because blah, blah, blah. But in the end, if you drill down, the child believes it's about them. That something is wrong with me. And if I can just fix me, then I can get dad to be nice to me. So the child needs confirmation. There is nothing wrong with you. This has nothing to do with you. I strongly recommend that you get your child in work with a child psychologist. And also you're going to need help with this as well, because this is fucking wrong. This is fucking abuse. All right. And you need to stand strong, Mom, which means you need to do your healing work on you so that you can. All right. Next question. How do I handle my ex-husband lying to my young adult kids about me? Well, let me tell you from personal experience. Okay. Personal experience in my case was I zipped my lip. Okay. Completely. And it was a mistake. When my first wife divorced me, our therapist at the time was telling us and gave us information on studies that were done that one of the most destructive things for kids is when parents are bad-mouthing each other. And so don't do that. Okay? So I didn't. I zipped my lip. And in my children's lives, in the first 20 years of their lives, they never heard me speak ill of their mother. Okay? But I know for a fact their mother was pouring poison into their ears, and I know it because she was also pouring it into some of my own family members and our friends and so forth, okay? So I didn't want to badmouth her, okay? But the problem is I was allowing her to badmouth me. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to allow anyone to badmouth you. So what that means is you have every right to deconstruct, to stand up for yourself, to deconstruct the lies that are being told. And I recommend that you do. And here's why I recommend that you do. You say you have young adult kids, that when you're getting those things brought to you or said to you, you stand up strong. You say, no, it's not true. Here's the evidence. Here's this, here's that. All right. If you feel bad about bad-mouthing the other person, you don't have to bad-mouth the other person, but you have every right to stand up for yourself, and you have to do it. You want to know why? Because what your ex is trying to do is create a breach between the kids and you. All right. And you don't want that breach to start, because those grow and they can take years, decades to reconnect. Sometimes they don't reconnect. That means you have to fight the lies now, because every lie that is not fought becomes accepted as truth. Your allowance of the untruth, your silence makes it tacitly true. So you have to stand up. You need to. Do you want to know why? Because your children need you. It's not just you need your children. You have every right to your children. They have a right to you, and they have a right to have you. They need you to stand up for what the truth is. Otherwise, they're going to lose you. They're going to pull away because they're going to believe what they're being told, even if it's total fucking bullshit. Next question. All right. I hope that helps, Rachel. All right. Next question. How do I stop breadcrumbing from happening to me? Okay. The root of breadcrumbing, that question could almost imply something's being done to you. Breadcrumbing, for those of you who don't know what breadcrumbing is, it's where they give a little bit of love, and then I hold on until they give a little bit more love, just a little bit more love. As in, those of you who have read my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, know that my theory that I talk about in there is what I call a love camel, or a relationship camel. And as you know, a camel can go a long distance on a little bit of water or a little bit of fat in their hump, right? And go through a long, dry desert. A relationship camel says, just give me a little bit of love. I'll do everything for you. Here, let me get the remote control for you. And what do you want to watch? Where do you want to go to dinner? No, we don't have to go to that movie I want. I don't really want it. What do you want? But just give me a little bit of love in return, because I can go a long distance on a little bit of love. All right. And you're asking the question here, how do I stop breadcrumbing from happening to me? It's not something that's happening to you. It's something that I am allowing. Why? Why would someone be a relationship camel? Why would someone allow themselves to be breadcrumbed? Because fundamentally, you believe at your core that your worth only comes from their confirmation of your worth. You believe that you don't matter enough to stand up to your person and say, no, I want more. And if they don't give you more, to walk away yourself. This is why one of the things I talk about is one of the grand superpowers in the relationships is the ability to be alone. Not that you want it necessarily. Some people do, but you may not want it. But the ability to be alone, to have been alone and to have settled into it and have gotten out all your fears and all your pain related to being alone, and all those messages that come rising up inside of you when you are alone and say, see, I suck, no one wants to be with me. The more you get all that out of you, you're not afraid of being alone. And if you're not afraid of being alone, then no one can breadcrumb you. Why? Because breadcrumbing is fundamentally saying, I'm going to give you a little bit of love, and then you're going to keep giving me more love until I give you a little bit more. The person who's not afraid of being alone is the person not afraid of walking away when they're being treated like shit. You think you're going to give me just a little bit of love and I'm going to stick around? Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm not fucking sticking around. No, because I want love. You don't want to give me love? That's okay. Hey, go fuck yourself. I'm not staying in a fucking relationship. I'm not dating someone who doesn't give love freely. And see, this is just it, you guys. If someone's not freely giving you love, okay, are you tolerating it? Because if you're tolerating it, guess what? It's going to continue. This is going to metastasize. It's going to get worse. Whereas the person not afraid of being alone, the person that finally understands I have value, the person who has finally healed their own past says, fuck this shit, I'm fucking out of here. I just want someone who's going to treat me lovingly. You don't want to treat me lovingly? Okay, that's fine. But we're not going to fucking be together. You don't get to be with me. But you're going to allow yourself to be breadcrumbed. You're going to turn into a relationship camel if you believe that your worth is tied up in how much you give. And the only chance you have of being loved is giving more. This is why people can grow up in very good homes and not end up in very toxic relationships. Why? Because what was modeled in your home, perhaps, and this was in my home, what was modeled in our home, very loving parents. Give. All right? But the problem is, that's a good thing. But the problem is, what if you're not taught boundaries as well as the giving? In other words, taught to say no when someone's treating you poorly. Taught to say no in giving too much. One of the things my dad was clergy. 4 of my uncles were clergy, Lutheran pastors. And my mom taught at the largest Lutheran seminary in the world. And she was also, ran giant education programs and so on and so forth. And one of the things they talk about in their work, and she was a suicide hotline counselor as well, and dad was a spiritual counselor. Mom was a wise old woman. And so in that work where you're constantly counseling people, and it's not just in counseling professions or pastoral professions, it can be in any profession, but one of the things they constantly talked about was keeping burnout in check. where you're giving so much that it's too much. You're losing your sense of self. You're not replenishing your love cup. You're only pouring out of your love cup. And when we do that, that's when we're susceptible. That's when we're worn down. And so you have to prize yourself enough. You have to have done the work of getting out all the messages you got that said you don't have worth. You have to get all those out so that you are operating from a sense of worth, and you are not terrified of being alone. Because if you're terrified of being alone, you will let someone run over you in relationships. You will tolerate all sorts of shit. Why? Because I can't bear the thought of you leaving me. So I'll give you everything. I'll do anything. Please just don't leave me. So it's not that breadcrumbing is done to you. It's that you're allowing it because you believe that's all you get. And you can't bear the thought of being alone. Too scary. All right. We're going to take just 2 more questions here, and then we're going to call it a day, folks. I love your questions. I've got a quickie here, maybe 3, because this is a quickie. Music Fan 40 on TikTok says, so what's your thoughts on organized religion? My thoughts on organized religion. I'm a former Lutheran pastor. My father was a Lutheran pastor. I just explained to you everything about my parents. 4 of my uncles were Lutheran pastors, one a missionary in Ecuador for like 20, 25 years, whatever. I believe organized religion can be a massively powerful source of good in the world. A lot of good is done in the name of organized religion when it's done well. When organized religion is done well, it's a beautiful thing. I absolutely believe that, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do to convince me otherwise, because I've seen it. There are a lot of good people in organized religion. But, of course, I've also written books like, I was the very first author to write on the spiritual but not religious phenomenon in America back in 1999, long before that term became part of common parlance. You can look it up on Wikipedia, spiritual but not religious. There's my name right there, first guy to write on it, all that shit. I've written books, rescuing God from Christianity, shit like that. So I'm also hypercritical of Christianity or any religion when it's done poorly. So I have strong mixed feelings and thoughts on organized religion, but I'm all in favor of anyone who's doing good in the world. All right.
May I add that the problem in my mind is when one's religious beliefs are imposed on others.
Amen.
And as long as there's a separation of church and state, I'm good.
And imposing it on others, nobody wants religion rammed down their throat. Remember back in the 70s, the fucking, Bible bangers and shit like that. It's like, oh my fucking God, just go away. By the way, if somebody says, and this is what I did in my own life, people come up and say, have you found Jesus yet? And shit like that. Now, mind you, I'm in fucking seminary at the time. My dad was a pastor. And I'd say, listen, no disrespect, but I'm happy to answer that question of, have I found Jesus, or what's your relationship with God? I'm happy to answer that question. But I want you first to tell me in full disclosure, your financial situation. And they're like, well, I'm not going to tell you that. I said, because it's personal, right? And they say, yeah. I said, exactly. You are under no obligation to discuss your faith life or your religion or your spirituality with anyone. You're under no obligation. It's personal. It's none of their fucking business. All right, next question. What if your trauma goes back too far to remember? My earliest childhood memory is a nightmare. I can't remember the trauma that created the fear behind the dream. So how can I heal from it? Okay, the mere fact that you say you have an early childhood memory that's a nightmare, that's great. Because your first question was, what if you doesn't go back too far? Well, clearly it does go back too far. I'd recommend writing out that dream. Play with it. Start playing with it. What might it mean? See, I'm a believer in dreams and metaphors. I work with clients who want to interpret dreams and shit like that. We tinker around with it. It's not about what it's saying to me. It's what it might be saying to you. And if I have the color green in my dreams, that can mean, it can mean verdant, ripe, right? Fresh, lush. It can mean greed. It can mean somebody's green, wet behind the ears, or someone's green. It means inexperience. And so I play with it within the context of the other operating metaphors in the dream, and it speaks. It speaks not necessarily of what's ahead, but what's going on in my life, that sort of thing. But in the end, the way to tap into your past, if you don't remember your past, and I get this one all the time, Sven, how do I heal my past? I don't remember my past. I say, start with yesterday. Start with when you got cut off in traffic on the highway. You fucker, you fucking cut me off. Fuck you. You're feeling all mad and shit. Well, maybe that's just me. But anyway, so I'm amped up, right? Or when your coworker said something mean behind your back or hurtful and you felt sad. Start with the most recent hurt that you can possibly think of. Start with that. Start right there. Maybe it was an hour ago when, somebody just said a hurtful thing. Start there. Journal it out. Write it out. How do I feel? Why do I feel that way? Does it remind me of anything? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. Have other people hurt me recently? Then work your way backwards. Just start working your way backwards and start small if you want. Then maybe take on one a little bit bigger. And the more you begin to bring up yesterday or last month when you had that big blowout fight with your sister, okay? And you're journaling that up. Maybe you write her a letter that you don't send. And all these letters, you can flush them down the toilet, you can keep them, you can burn them, do whatever the hell you want. But the bottom line is the more you do it, the better you're going to get at and the more comfortable you're going to be with feelings. Furthermore, you're cleaning out the crud out of that vault that has all your feelings and memories in it. All your memories that have those emotional charges attached to it, the more you start cleaning out, guess what? You're sending a message to your soul, I'm ready for more. I always tell people at the end of our session, and I've got another client tomorrow morning, 6-hour client. And I've got 2 more in the evening for a couple hours each. All right. I always tell brand new clients after we get done, after that 6-hour session, I said, you're going to have so much new stuff. We have turned your life upside down. You're going to have so many new memories coming in all likelihood. You may not, but in likelihood, you're going to have, whether in dream form or just some random memory is going to come up, write it down. I said, because once you begin to churn that up, more comes up. And that's a blessing. Why? Because those more memories and those more emotional charges are opportunities to heal even more. But just start small. Start with yesterday. Start with a recent memory that had some sort of emotional charge attached to it. Start there, and you'll find that more will come and more will come. You just keep flushing it out. You're going to get better. You're going to be able to move faster and take on bigger things, and then you're going to start to have more and more memories. Or when it comes to your childhood, start with a memory at age 19. Start there. Or a 17-year-old when you got turned down, you didn't get to be the homecoming queen. Whatever it is, start with what you remember. Well, people, this has been lovely. Rob, thoughts on today's lightning round?
Yes, as much as I appreciate you getting right into the questions, because we like to handle as many as we can.
Yes.
At the beginning of the show, for the very first time, you did not acknowledge KC and me, which makes us feel like we don't matter.
Wow. I didn't acknowledge you?
Nope.
I must publicly apologize, people, not because he says it, because I know it. You've heard me say it before. This show does not exist.
No, I'm fucking with you. You don't have to do this.
No. This show does not exist without Rob. KC is the mastermind. This was her vision and so forth. Rob is the engine that keeps it cranking every single week. He does the hardest work. And so I now acknowledge KC and Roberto, the Rocketto, as the engines of this machine. I'm just the dent in the side panel.
Rocketto, I'm going to give you a high leg kick.
Aha, yes. That season is coming up, by the way. Rockettes, I've still never seen them in Radio City Music Hall. Have you?
Christmas when I was a kid, you need to go once.
I think I do. Any thoughts else on today's session? Anything else, Rob?
We've had a number of excellent questions, and I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Me too. And Rob, good luck to your Mets. I know you are rooting for them. They're going hard.
When this show airs, we will know more. But right now, it's looking reasonably good, but we know enough not to get too excited with the Mets.
And I tell you, I know exactly where you're at because my Vikings are 5-0 for today. We know what the Vikings have a power to do. I've lived through 4 Super Bowl losses. All right, you guys, I love you, every single last one of you. Thank you really for your kick-ass questions. We just love getting in your questions, and it's just so stimulating. And I hope some of it has been grist for the mill. I hope some of it has been helpful for you in your own lives. So to all of you following us on YouTube, to all of our dear friends on Facebook, and our wonderful people on TikTok, on behalf of my entire team, have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by 2-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.